The phone rang at 2 a.m. that night. Private Detective Marcus's voice was trembling. "Mrs. Reyes, you need to see what I've found, but I must warn you, when your son finds out about this, he may never forgive you." As I held the receiver, I thought, what if my son is right, and I'm just a controlling, interfering mother? But 20 minutes later, when I saw the photos on my screen, there was no turning back. The first photo Marcus sent showed that Karmen had a completely different life. The woman who was my son Tomas's fiancée was smiling in another city, under another name, on another man's arm. The date was only 6 months ago, just 2 weeks after she said she met Tomas. My hands were shaking as I held the phone. I was 62 years old and had never thought about hiring a private detective in my life. But as a mother, my instincts told me something was wrong. The first day I met Karmen, I saw cold calculation behind her perfect smile. She wasn't in love with my son. When she looked at him, there wasn't love in her eyes, but assessment. "Mrs. Reyes," Marcus said on the phone, "this is just the beginning. I have much more documentation. We need to meet first thing tomorrow morning." I couldn't sleep that night. At 7 a.m., I was sitting in the chair in Marcus's office, examining the files with a cup of cold coffee in my hand. The truth was much darker than I was prepared to learn. Karmen Delgado was a fake identity. Her real name was Karmen Blackwell, and behind her were 3 marriages, 2 fraud cases, and a 7-year-old daughter she had left in another state. Each marriage had ended the same way. She met a wealthy man, had a quick relationship, got married, and then disappeared after emptying the man's bank accounts. "Tomas is the third target," Marcus said, putting another file in front of me. "The first 2 husbands didn't go to court. Shame, fear of scandal, you know, but the third one tried to file a lawsuit before Karmen disappeared." When I read the file, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The man had attempted suicide. Karmen had deprived him not only of his wealth but of his hope, his dignity, his will to live. "Does Tomas have assets?" Marcus asked. "When his father died, he left him $2 million, plus shares in his company. Total value is around $4 million. Marcus nodded. "That's why she's here. Karmen, or Vanessa, or whatever other name she uses, she's a professional con artist. She targets wealthy men, marries them quickly, and takes everything and runs." "The wedding is in 3 days," I said, my voice cracking. "Tomas is so happy. He says he's found the love of his life." Marcus looked at me with pity in his eyes. "Mrs. Reyes, I can offer you 3 options. First, do nothing and watch your son's life be destroyed. Second, show him this evidence privately and wait for his reaction. Third, I asked, stop the wedding, in front of everyone, with evidence." At that moment my heart was beating so fast I was afraid my chest would explode. To do something like that to Tomas in front of 200 people who had known him since childhood, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, he would never forgive me. "But," Marcus continued, "this may be the only way. After they get married, Karmen will gain access to bank accounts under the pretext of combining assets. Within 6 months, most of the money will be gone. And Tomas will be deprived not only of money, but of his reputation, his pride, and his faith in the future." When I got home, Tomas found me in the kitchen. "Mom, finally, Karmen's mother Gloria came to town. She wants us to meet her tonight. It's going to be great, you'll see." Gloria, Karmen's mother. But Marcus had told me that Karmen's family had rejected her years ago, that they hadn't spoken because of illegal activities. So who was this Gloria? "Tomas," I said, "there's something I need to talk to you about." "Mom, no," he said, raising his hand. "If you're going to talk again about how Karmen is too fast, please. We've been together for 6 months. I love her, and she loves me. Tomas, I know you've been overprotective of me since we lost Dad, but I'm 35 years old. I can make my own decisions. Karmen is a wonderful woman, and I'm so lucky she's joining our family." The words knotted in my throat. I had to tell him the truth. But when I saw the happiness in his eyes, the words didn't come out of my mouth. "Okay," I finally said, "let's meet Gloria tonight." At the restaurant, when I saw the woman approaching the table, everything fell into place. It wasn't Gloria, it was her partner Patricia. Marcus had told me she was Karmen's accomplice. They worked together. Patricia played the mother role, making everything look legitimate. "You must be Gloria," I said, shaking her hand. I looked into her eyes, and what I saw there froze me. An empty coldness. No warmth, no maternal love, just calculation. "Gloria," I said during dinner, those childhood stories you told about Karmen are so sweet. Which city did you say she grew up in? Karmen's face tensed for a moment. Denver, she said quickly. Strange, I said, because last week you told me you grew up in Seattle. Silence fell over the table. Tomas looked at me in shock. Mom, what are you doing? Just curious, I said, maintaining my smile. Gloria, did you live in Seattle or Denver? Patricia or Gloria put down her fork. We lived in both Seattle and Denver. We moved a lot. I see. And how is Karmen's little girl? How often do you see her? Karmen's face turned white. Tomas looked completely confused. Little girl, he said. Karmen, what is Mom talking about? Don't ask, Tomas, Karmen said, her voice trembling. I think your mother is a bit confused. But I wasn't going to stop now. I took out the file Marcus had given me from my purse. I'm not confused, I said in a calm voice. I just don't want my son to marry someone who has been married 3 times, escaped 2 fraud cases, and has a 7-year-old daughter in another state. I put the file on the table, a photocopy of Karmen's real ID card, court records, photos from previous marriages. Everything was there. Tomas looked at the file, then at Karmen, then back at the file. The expression on his face transformed from belief to shock, from shock to incredible pain. This must be a lie, he said, his voice hoarse. Tomas, Karmen said, reaching out her hand. But Tomas pulled back. Look at me, he said. Look me in the eyes and tell me these are lies. Karmen's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Patricia stood up. We're leaving, she said in a cold voice. Our lawyers will be in touch. Which lawyers? I said. The ones we're looking for you for fraud. I will never forget the expression I saw on Tomas's face. For the first time in his life, he looked at the woman he thought could lie to him and saw the truth. Karmen and Patricia left the restaurant without saying anything. Tomas and I sat in silence. People around us continued eating, talking, laughing, but at our table, life seemed to have stopped. Mom, Tomas finally said, his voice breaking. How long have you known this? 3 days. And you didn't tell me. I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. He put his head in his hands. I proposed to her. I bought a ring. We made wedding plans. And she was just after the money. I completed the sentence. Tomas started crying. The last time I saw my son cry was when he was 12, when his father died. Now, at 35, a successful businessman, he was crying like a child again. I wanted to get up and hug him, but I knew he was angry with me too. 3 days, he finally said. You knew this for 3 days, and chose to tell me 3 days before the wedding. Why? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Because you wouldn't have listened, I said. Every time I tried to tell you, you accused me of being an overprotective, interfering mother. My only option was to show you the evidence. We invited everyone, 200 people. The venue is booked. Florist, baker, photographer. Everything is ready. And now what am I going to do? What am I going to tell them? You'll tell them the truth, I said, that you were scammed, but that you realized it, and that you stopped before a bigger disaster happened. Tomas raised his head and looked at me. There was still anger in his eyes, but also gratitude. Thank you, he finally said. That wasn't easy to do, I know, and I treated you so badly. You're my son, I said. It's my job to protect you, whether you love me or hate me. Tomas stood up and hugged me. We hadn't hugged like that in a long time. And there, in that restaurant, we both cried. The next day, Tomas sent a message to all the wedding guests. He said the wedding was canceled due to illness. He only told his closest friends the real reason. A week later, Marcus called me. Mrs. Reyes, I have good news for you. Karmen and Patricia turned themselves into the police. They were wanted in another state for another case. Tomas's testimony strengthened the case. The daughter, she's safe. When I hung up the phone, I felt a strange peace inside. I had perhaps partially lost Tomas. I knew he would be distant with me for a while, but I had saved his life. And as a mother, I couldn't do more than that. 3 months later, Tomas invited me for coffee. He sat across from me and was silent for a long time. Mom, he finally said, there's something I want to talk to you about. I started seeing a therapist, and my therapist suggested I tell you something. My heart started beating fast. Tell me what? I'm sorry for not listening to you. I thought you were just trying to control me, but actually you loved me. And now I understand that real love sometimes hurts, because you have to say things that the person you love doesn't want to hear. My eyes filled with tears. Tomas, no wait, he said. I need to finish. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because you did the right thing, even though you knew everyone would hate you, something many mothers couldn't do. And I'm so lucky, because I have a mother like you. That day, in that cafe,
I reconnected with my son, a stronger, more honest, more real bond. And now I know this. Being a mother sometimes means making painful decisions. Sometimes it means risking being hated. But real love comes not from being popular, but from doing what's right. Karmen is in prison now. Patricia too. And Tomas is slowly recovering. He's still having hard days, but now he knows who to trust. Me, his mother. And that is worth more than all the money in the world. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending me a super thanks so I can bring more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm waiting for your comments about the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Until the next life story, with love and respect.